Hello, everybody. It's March 29th. I was just talking behind the scenes a little bit with Martine, and Trish is here too. Some people that listen to my daily music offerings that I share. And I was saying about how much I use these songs in order to generate and get into a positive self state. And then I love sharing it with others. So like if I make a song like the one that I did yesterday, I make it in the morning and I listen to it throughout the day. And I feel very much that it is about like, this one felt very like floating and expansive, and I use it for my dance. And then I also use it while I'm like going to sleep at night. And it's a way for, it's like my soundtrack for life. That's why I call it soundtrack for life. It's a way of focusing positively, going into a different level of being, getting out of the either unpleasant feelings or mundane, boring feelings, going into more magical reality, cultivating that self state, sharing it with others, flying into higher dimensions. That is what I'm all about. So that is what I do for my music. It's how I use my music and how I am so happy to share it with others in terms of bringing about positive. There we go. Lucy's tuning in. Good to see her. Positive self states. Let me drink a little bit. So yeah, so that, and if people are interested, like just contact me and I should set up a page more officially probably for if you would like to participate and receive the messages of the day or the self-state messages of the day. Some of my stuff does have some soaring vocals, but not all of it. And a lot of it is instrumental and a lot of it is cultivating a feeling state. Okay, official, that was backstage stuff. Official, hello, welcome. March 29th, 2022. This is the level 2 presentation. And I'm just grabbing my notes over here because I think I've got it correct, but it is level 2, lesson 7. This is advanced envisionment of the Merkaba. Hi, Lucy, good to see you.
Hey,
How are you?
hello.
Good to see you. I'm going to mute everybody just for the sake of the recording. Merkaba. So I do have, this class is level 1 and level 2, and then I tend to switch back and forth each week because my broadcasts are just becoming incredibly long. And last week was a very long one of many, many hours. So this week I'm focusing on level 2 stuff. We're up to lesson 7. And it's going to be a not very long recording because I think I can get through everything in the 2 hours of our class. However, it's backwards from the way I usually structure the class. Usually I get through level 1 and we get to the level of an introduction to what is the Merkaba. And then after the class has gone through that, or concurrently, then I do the advanced presentation. But because of the way that things have been staggered or shifted, and I'm always going with the cosmic syncopation or synchronization of larger time currents, I'm like, okay, I'm doing the advanced presentation about the Merkaba before I do the beginner or initiatory. Don't worry. And I know that a lot of people that have been in this class have already done level 1. So level 2 is not going, it is possibly seemingly backwards or nonlinear, but do not be concerned of the idea that we are going in nonlinear movement today, all about the advanced uses of the Merkaba. So I'm going to do all of it. And then when we do the basics version, of course, I'll emphasize the basics more. First, I'm going to go a little bit to my share screen. Hold on, let me clear away things that you don't need to see. Clearing away things you don't need to see. So we'll get there, don't worry, more clearing away of things you don't need to see. Finally get into stuff I want to show you. Good. These are 2 of the drawings that I have made that are all about what the Merkaba is. And then I have this animation, and the animation is available on YouTube. And I sent it out as part of the lecture notes for, there we go, Charlie B's coming in. Lecture notes for today's class and shared it on Patreon because it's one of those videos that is on YouTube, but it's just a little bit hard to find sometimes through their algorithm. If you look it up, you should be able to find it just by researching Aurora uses of the Merkaba, but it doesn't always show up. So I have, and I'll link it with this video too. What is, oh, and here comes Angel. Wait, hold on a second. I'll do stop share and go back to my face. And I'll say a beautiful hello and welcome to everybody from the class who's tuning in. So I know you're still, Angela's still connecting, but hello to Charlie and hello to Angel. We're doing advanced uses of the Merkaba today. So what is this shape? What am I talking about? Why is it important? It means literally light body vessel. These are words that reverberate all the way back to phonetic sound symbols that come from ancient Egypt, but all of that is a vestigial trace of the antediluvian high culture that we now know as Atlantis. So learning about the Merkaba in the Atlantis time or concurrent time or ancient or mythological time was analogous to like how we teach little children like how to tie your shoes. It's like considered a basic of a life skill or beginner initiatory stuff. It's like at the foundation of everything. And I will also tell you that this is a very profound teaching, and that is something that is an incredibly useful tool and a high level of responsibility in the way that I will share with you. There are several different uses of it. So I've divided up into 3 main uses, and today's the advanced lesson. I am going to teach you about, hi Charlie, and show you about what is the 3rd level. And with all of my presentations, I say, first master the first levels of it before you decide to jump to the 3rd, because this is your vehicle and I'm a responsible driving instructor. So I'm going to teach you all about, like the rules of the road and safety. Before, I would never just hand someone the keys and be like, here, like you have no training, you have no gas, you don't know to wear a seatbelt. Like you have to have all of the prerequisites done before you try to use this for interdimensional travel. And also, I don't want you to think that I'm withholding information from you, because I will tell you. So this comes to the sense of different esoteric societies and information that was passed down through multiple generations, and also safeguarded through secrecy in some ways. The idea that part of the recipe might be given, but not the full entirety of it, and that there's some disempowerment in there. I don't want you to think that I'm part of a disempowerment structure in any way holding back from you. I'm not. I'm a responsible teacher, so I'm here in order to give you the basics and the instructions for the advanced with the comprehension that you will only reach for the advanced after you do your muscle building, self-work, and inner cultivation. Okay, Merkaba means light body vessel. It is a shape that is a star tetrahedron. Go back to my screen shares now. So star tetrahedron. What is a tetrahedron? A tetrahedron is a pyramid that is shaped with equilateral triangles. Let me do can I do the annotation? Hold on a second. I don't mean to drive you crazy. I got to jump to my desktop. Then I got to get the annotation immediately. Okay, good. If I don't get the pen going immediately, it doesn't always cooperate with me. First, let's define terms. What is an equilateral triangle? Aurora, this sounds like math and I'm having flashbacks from 3rd grade. I don't like it. Make it stop. No, guys, don't worry. I'm just being lighthearted and facetious. My math is very fun. An equilateral triangle is the shape that I just outlined here. It is a triangle that has equal sides, all the same length. So it could be 1 inch, 1 inch, 1 inch, 1 cubit, 1 cubit, 1 cubit, whatever is your version of measurement, all the same on each side. And a tetrahedron is a pyramid that is comprised of 4 equilateral triangles. So this is, okay, I'm going to clear everything out. This is different than the pyramid at Giza that has a square-shaped bottom. So of course I'm working with perspective here, but you can get an idea of this being the pyramid, the Great Pyramid, that is maybe not the best drawing there, but you saw that has a square base. So this pyramid that we're dealing with, has a triangular base. So a tetrahedron is this. So this shape that we're making, the Merkaba, is called a star tetrahedron. It is made of 2 tetrahedra. That's the plural for tetrahedron. One tetrahedron is made out of multiple interlocking equilateral triangles. Equilateral means measured the same on all sides. And you guys will be so happy to know, if you followed my journey, that I finally unpacked my boxes and I found my models. I found my Mobius strip. It was hiding in there. I found my models. found all my crystals that we're working on. So we're working with our wonderful demonstration tools today. Okay, because I think seeing and sensing it in this way is very powerful beyond the mere descriptiveness of my words. A tetrahedron shaped pyramid is comprised of 4 of these equilateral triangles. Let's fold it up together. You see how I'm folding this all up? Folded that up like that. Boom. It has a triangular base and it is equal on all sides. The Merkaba shape is comprised of 2 of these. So that's why I have 2 of my little sculptures. And it interlocks and interpenetrates. So you can see here, let's do this properly. Here's one that points downward like this, and then here's one that points upward like this. And of course, these are solid objects, so I can't make them squish through each other. But in the world of pure energy, they squish through each other. Squish is a very concise mathematical term. They interpenetrate and they create this shape here that I am drawing for you. I'll go back to the drawings for you. So now that you know what I'm talking about, here's another view. Here's kind of a side view so that you can see what this is. So now I have a human figure inside of this. Oh, can I get the annotation? Yes, I can. Life is good. There's the human figure, the anthropomorphic seated form inside of here. And what I want to emphasize to you is when you are envisioning this shape around your body, there are a couple of anatomical features that are something to focus on. The first one is your heart. So I'm circling that little aperture right there. And the other one is your crown. And I'm circling your aperture right there. And although it is not emphasized in this drawing, we can also emphasize over here, the root chakra and the vertex that aligns with that. That would be the backward facing pointing. Okay, what does vertex mean? Vertex means one of these points of the pyramid shape. So the pyramid shapes around you align with different areas of your non-physical or semi-physical energetic anatomy. The ones to focus on for this experience or practice are emanating out from your heart. Your heart connects with this vertex that is pointing outward. So there's another view. I'll show you the other view later. And the crown over here points upward and aligns with the upward facing pyramid. Now go back to my face. I am not very much for describing things in terms of male versus female, because I feel that the male versus female paradigm is extremely rooted in the expectations of the biological body. Like, what if you're an amoeba? Amoebas don't have male-female reproductive organs or that type of gender-specific aspects to their species. An amoeba is a blob and it divides by subdividing itself. There are different types of species and different types of organisms, and it is very to ascribe male or female characteristics to energy, I feel, is a bit antithetical to our purpose of understanding and diving into unity consciousness. So I tend not to describe these 2 pyramidal structures in terms of male or female. I tend to call them either active, pointing upward, or receptive, pointing downwards. And I think this also is a positive social activity. Another person is entering in. Or re-entering in. Hold on a second. I'm just pausing on what I'm saying here. Art, I think you're having trouble maybe staying in the meeting. If this system keeps kicking you off, what you might need to do is hop out, download a Zoom upgrade, and then hop back in. So that might make your life easier. So apologies for helping out with that brief interlude there. Upward facing has been described as male, active, very specific in its energy, and downward facing or pointing has been described as female or as receptive. However, I think it is a positive social posture and muscle building exercise to begin moving forward to not ascribe these particular personality characteristics to either males or females, because females can be specific, focused, directed in their thoughts, actions, and behavior. Females can exhibit leadership qualities, and males can also be receptive, intuitive, be in their feeling state, and be able to receive divine information as well. So let's just put that on the table and then take that all off the table. So I call this the upward facing pyramid and the downward facing pyramid. They have interrelated but divergent characteristics. So let's start with the upward facing one, because when we use the Merkaba, I mostly tend to start with the envisionment of the upward facing one and then add to it the downward facing one. So like everything I teach about, the Flying Rainbow Lasagna and other energy work, this is a practice of self-cultivation. It begins as an emanation from your mind, your Christ consciousness, your imagination, your pineal gland. This is what I spoke about in our super long marathon broadcast of last week. That was like 4 hours long. And I also introduced everyone this semester to the concept of the Merkaba in terms of protecting your brain, mind, pineal gland, emanation structure. Cheers to everyone. This is just water with electrolytes. Patricia laughs because she knows that I always have to say something about drinking on camera. She's like, you don't have to apologize. We know that you get thirsty. But I always want you to know that I'm not drinking wine. Envisioning this is a projection of your reality manifestation mechanism or apparatus. Your reality projection apparatus should itself be protected in the act of projecting, so that way you are projecting from a position of purity. I like that phrase, untrammeled goodness, divine connection, and your own intentions that are not being unduly influenced or distorted or hijacked, for lack of a better word, by some other influence of the mind that might come along and wish to use your apparatus in order to create a reality that is something you might not want to be creating for yourself or with your own body being. Oh, Chiki has a lot to say. You guys can see she's right over here in her dog bed. Okay, so the first thing is I talked about Merkaba as a protective energy field around your individual pineal gland and Christ consciousness chakra last week. The Merkaba field or shield can be envisioned as a totality or a holistic whole surrounding your entire physicality. And if you do that, you can understand or presume, it is presumed that that also means, yes, I'm protecting my pineal gland and my inner eye with it. Yes, I'm also protecting every cellular aspect of my being, and I'm also protecting my trajectory through time. I think that I should get organized in what I'm saying and say that the Merkaba has three main uses or functionalities as a tool or as an energetic anatomy or as a envisionment, embodiment, spiritual practice and thing that you can learn and cultivate and do and grow. The first one is for a basic energetic immune system. The next one is for co-creative partnership reality manifestation, what I have called in the past cosmic lovemaking. I do not want it to be projected upon negatively in terms of human dysfunctional sexuality, but I will still call it beautiful, pure cosmic lovemaking. Cheeky, you're okay. Just keep it cool. Keep it cool. Don't be upset. And then the third one is for interdimensional travel. Okay, so the first thing I want to focus on is Merkaba as a visualization for self-protection, like having an immune system. It is, first of all, totally appropriate to have an immune system or a protective energy field around your body being. This energy field that I have here, one thing, I mean, you're students of this class and you're all very perceptive. You're like, hey, Aurora, usually you work with circles, circles everywhere, circles and sine waves and spheres and these very undulative energies. This is made out of these straight lines. Yes, it is absolutely made out of these straight lines, and that is very perceptive of you to notice that. And the straight lines are actually any polygon that you're finding. So I go to my whiteboard. As Cheeky as I like to say, there's some beeping or construction outside. Apologies for that. If this is a moderately poorly drawn equilateral triangle, please understand that it is the end result of here is half a sphere and here is the other half of the sphere. Cheeky, please don't be loud. And Cheeky, no. Hey, hold on, guys. No, that, no, that, no, that. Thank you very much. You are doing visual math. When you have an up plus a down, they collapse together into neutrality. So that upper sine wave and that lower sine wave collapse together and create this wavy line that you see here. So every time in life that you are looking at a polygon with straight sides, polygon is math talk for multi-sided shape. This line is the end result of this plus this equals this, okay? So what I'm showing you in a star tetrahedron is the end result of doing that type of, I call it visual math, like where you are basically looking at vectors and forces, because these are like soap bubbles that have a tension to them. And so if you have the tension equal like this, an equal amount up and an equal amount down, it collapses out to a straight line, a straight side. So when you are looking at these pyramid shapes, you know that the straight line edges are actually the end result of bubbles that are clustered together, all right? That's a first bridge of consciousness that we're establishing here in the class. Using it for a protective shield. The flat faces are like mirrors or reflectors that can reflect off anything that is energy that is unwanted or inappropriate. I want to read from my notes to say exactly what this is. The rotating facets of the tetrahedra repel energetic attacks or undesired events. Big, big, big. This is why I have my notes over here, because sometimes, in the moment, I'm not as articulate as I wish to be. Repel energetic attacks or undesired events. We are talking about flying through time. When I talk about making my music and flying and going through space and all of these things, we're talking about flying through time and navigating timelines. These undulative chakra shapes that surround your body are all shapes of time. This immune system that I'm talking about is being able to put up a protective energy field of intention so that in this world where it is recognized that there are some, you could call them unwholesome presences that are still on that path of learning how to live in community, how to live in harmonic, positive interaction with others, it is necessary to protect yourself from them. So this is just like saying in the physicality world, we live in a sea of microbes. Germaphobes, get used to it. Sorry, I'm being lighthearted. But we live in a sea of microbes. You are teeming with life. The surface of your skin, all of your mouth and inside of your digestive tract, your hair, every surface of your body, teeming with microbes. And that what you need, and then that means to be covered with microbes, but then also teeming in the sense that you are in partnership with microbes. When you have healthy skin and when you have a healthy mouth and healthy digestive tract is because you have a healthy proliferation of positive mutualism microbes that help you and that you support them. So like your stomach is a perfect example. You have lactobacillus and they live around in there and they help to ferment and digest your food for you and make nutrients available to you that otherwise you would not be able to unlock and absorb. And you allow them to live in your tummy. They're supposed to be there. And you're like, hi, like, thank you for being with me on my journey. You're supposed to be inside of me and doing that, as opposed to, let's say, something like amoebic dysentery. That is not something that is a symbiote or a mutualist, that you do not want that microbe inside of you and that it causes a great deal of illness and sickness in you. So you want to have a positive immune system of your physicality structure that says, I allow in these microbes, I keep out these other microbes. So now let's use that analogy as a basic overlay for our journey through time. Time is full of events, possibilities, and probabilities. I talk about the sun and I point out my window at the beautiful sun outside. It is emitting an array, a whole giant dandelion head of all of these different spokes of time and all of these different possibilities and probabilities. And that's everything that I teach about in this class. The peripheral timelines, the central core timeline. There's a lot of different time possibilities out there and many different levels of being that are traveling many different time roads. It is necessary for you in order to stay in alignment with your true personality structures, true core self, and the true intended events that you wish to align with, not to be influenced by or going towards or interacting with those peripheral consciousnesses or events or energy systems. got it? It's basically staying focused. This is a way of keeping out the energy that I said, energetic attacks. So there are some beings, like, so you would say if you have, amoebas inside of you and they're not supposed to be there, you'd be like, hey, these amoebas are attacking me. They're not supposed to be there. Again, trying to use language that does not seem too adversarial, but also while understanding that you are, in a sense, having to uphold your own energy structure, even in a world full of things that might be trying to enter you without consent or enter through vulnerabilities or somehow in some way influence you and bring you over towards the membrane of death. And you're like, no, I don't want to be influenced in my flight through time towards the membrane of death. I want to be influenced in my flight through time to eternal life and to staying alive. We will not sing the Bee Gees song, but I always want to say that whenever I think that phrase, we want to remain in our eternal beingness. So this Merkaba ship of consciousness, protective energy field, is meant to maintain you in your intention of moving towards your eternity timeline. And with the recognition that there are fragmentary consciousnesses, antithetical consciousnesses, and consciousnesses that are still on their journey of learning about unity consciousness that might be actively trying to bring you to the membrane of death or cause your harm or your destruction in some way. So these flat faces repel energetic attacks, and also in the more abstract, just purely empirical sense of using language, undesired events. So you want to be aligned with certain events in time, all of the events in time that keep me moving towards eternity and ascended mastery and, reunion with God or recognition of one's own godhood. That's what you want to be aligning with and experiencing. Those are the desired events. Other things that are peripheral or dead ends or incorrect math problems, like incorrect math homework done incorrectly, so you get a red X from the teacher, you would like to be protected from those. Those are undesired events. I say all this. Can you tell that I'm really, really cautious with my language and the way that I'm languaging this? That's for a reason. All of this is about being super perfect or impeccable or really highly intentional about aligning with cosmic law, using your intention. We're talking about emitting reality, aligning with reality, basic cosmic law structures of free will and the appropriateness of protecting yourself and who you are on your journey and who you are allowed to be and how you are allowed to walk in the world and how you are allowed to affect others or be affected by others. So it's kind of like saying, yes, we live in a freedom state and there are microbes everywhere and they're allowed to try to get into your tummy, but you're allowed to have a protective energy field. So you're allowed to say, no, you don't get to come into my tummy, or no, you don't get to bring me towards the membrane of death, or no, you don't get to come inside of my mind or my emotional state or my DNA. No, you don't get to affect my light body. No, you don't get to generate reality structures using my body. I generate reality structures using my body. That's big. And so that's why I'm being so incredibly intentional with my language and with everything that I'm establishing here. Because again, these are tools of responsibility as you are mastering the world of pure energy and mastering the world of perceiving time as an abstract structure or sculpture through which you move and through which your actions contribute to the beauty of the sculpture. Because all the people in this class are beautiful people. You're beautiful artists. You're virtuous virtuosos learning to play your genetic piano so that you're moving in a beautiful, harmonious way with the rest of the cosmos. All right. Immune system. So when you begin to envision this, it's an incredibly powerful tool for immune system. And that's the first way that I started using it. And that's the first way that I would encourage everyone else to use it as well. Let's get to the how-to and the envisionment. So the first thing is, I'm sitting on a stool right now, but if you don't mind, I will switch to the floor. Hold on. I know I'm off camera. Hold on. Let me just do this. Let me just do this. Let me just do this. All right, good. Here I am. This is how I usually sit in meditation, right? If this is comfortable for you, sit like this. If not, sit in a chair. It is totally perfectly fine and acceptable. Please work with your body and your ability and mobility levels. I feel it is comfortable to sit like this. When I sit like this, you may notice something about my body structure. I have my two legs that stick out like the base of the pyramid, and then this part that goes across here. This is the beginning of how I envision sitting in my Merkaba. So I'm encouraging all of you to do this as your own practice too. I envision what is my root chakra sticks out from the base of my spine where it connects to my pelvis. So that is where the pointy back part, the vertex in that drawing exists, and my legs shoot forward to create these other two facets or faces of the upward facing pyramid, and the vertex, pointy part of the pyramid, aligns with my crown chakra up here, and then the third face or fourth face is in front of my face here like this, and it almost feels to me like a windshield. You got it? Like windshield of the car, windshield of the vehicle. So that's the first thing. You guys can do it while you are in class with me now, or you can do it when you have more focus and meditative energy, because I know it can be a lot to focus on my voice and all of these things, even at the same time that you are trying to use your inner visualization apparatus to do this. So this is using both aspects of being, all aspects of being, I should say. The physicality structure of the body, and of course your somatic cellular structure, and also your ability to envision and imagine reality, to project an energy field around you. So the first thing I do is get seated and create this pyramidal structure that would be the upward facing, let's call it pyramid of specifics, specific desires, specificity, and active energy. Like it's a point, it's a pointer, it points at things, it is specific, it is focused, it points at things. And then the other aspect of the envisionment is to imagine the complement. I have one vertex that points outward from my heart, and I imagine that my shoulders are like the back, the flat part would be across my back. This points outward from my heart at this level. And then when I have that receptive pyramid envisioned, then the activation or activating, I can't even make my mind work here. The active use, it's not just a static object. Like I showed you those pictures, I'm going to get to the animation. The activation of the intention that is put within the shape and the active use of the shape begins when you create these two pyramids counter-rotating. So having an immune system means that you imagine these two pyramids and then you get them spinning, you get them spinning, you get them spinning. So in my mind, when I do this, I envision the one that is pointy over here starts to swing around like this. And for me, I'm a woman, so I'm using my right hand and I'm swinging that around in what would be like going to the right pattern from me. And the one that points outward from my heart, I envision that one going outward to the left. I have heard that people of other genders like to spin it in other ways. I would encourage you to find the way of doing it that feels right to you. It is like surfboard or skateboarding, like are you right-footed or left-footed? Like that is what it is. So I don't want to dictate to someone else. And again, this whole male versus female thing, but I do from my heart out to the left and from my back out to the right. And for me, shields up now is, I said, like tying my shoes. That like when you're a little tiny child and you're first learning how to tie your shoes, you have to be like, okay, over, under, twist this, tie this around. Like you really, really, really have to focus, all right? But then when you are an adult and you have mastered that for 20 or 40 years, you can tie your shoes very easily in the morning, even while you're talking to someone else or balancing a cup of coffee or holding onto your dog or something like that. So it becomes something that is quote unquote second nature or internalized on a sub or superconscious level through practice, practice, practice. So this is a meditation and a spiritual practice, just like anything, or practice of a musical instrument, just like anything. You get better through practice. Please do not be too concerned if you feel like you are not quote unquote good enough or perfect enough in the beginning hold on, I go back to my face. In the beginning of your practice, don't be too much of a perfectionist to be able to begin to even start. That is how you get better, is through practice, is through starting. So the first thing to do in your practice is begin envisioning the upward facing pyramid. Let's go to share screen. Thank you for bearing with me while I like jump up and down off the floor, share the screen, do this, do that. Okay, so now I'm going to draw for you. Oh, go back to the annotation. Did I lose it? Come on. Sometimes you can tell, guys. I'm not getting frustrated. I'm perfectly calm. There we go. This is the vertex that points outward from the base of the spine. And that is the one that I make go around like this. And then this is the one that points outward from the heart. And that is the one that I make go around like that. These are in balance. This shape, if it has language that it is what I would translate the information of this shape in the language of harmonics and moving polygons is the concept of balance. So that is the topical theme when we are doing all of this, a balance between giving and receiving, a balance between the extremely active state of saying, I want this, I'm very specific, and the receptive state of saying, I receive in gratitude. It is part of, again, working harmoniously in the consciousness community world level of unity consciousness and pure perception of time. This is part of getting up to that level, go back to my face, part of getting up to that level of maturity and galactic citizenship, where you say, yes, I am connected to all these other life forms, all these other consciousness forms, the time field itself, the divine presence of intelligence or the source or infinity point itself, and that I wish to be a good dance partner, I wish to be a good musician. And in being a good musician, playing with a band, part of it is about playing, part of it is about resting, part of it is about sending out, part of it is about being receptive to others and how they are receiving what you are sending out. So everything about this shape is about balance. Let's go back to this and I will talk more about it. I get the annotation. Okay, this upward facing pyramid, the one that's going up like this. When we move on to the second level of the use of the Merkaba. So the first level, again, just to reiterate and emphasize, is as a protective energy field or shield. And so that begins with imagining this as a static image and then moving on to how to get it to actually spin around you. And I'll get to the animation too. The second part of this has to do with, oh, I forgot to say, in the aspect of the energy field shield, I focused so much on the sense of these being like, here's a flat plane, like a windshield, and kapow, that thing just got bounced off of it. That was an undesired event or undesired, what's the exact words that I used? Energetic attack or undesired event that just bounced right off of my windshield. But then also, hold on a second. So those are called facets. Each one of these flat faces I'm calling a facet. And these areas in here, I would call, hold on, I'm looking at my notes, a vertex or a cleft. These are apertures. These are points of entryway. These are places where energy can come inside and you have to have openings. So this is meant to be an energy field. And I say sometimes shield, and I use both of these words. It's meant to be something that keeps out the things that you don't want and also continues to make you available to the things that you do want. Like you want to keep out things that are pathogens in your life, and you also want to have beautiful nourishment enter inside of you in terms of energy, in terms of human relationship, human or organism or consciousness-based relationships. You want nourishing, positive, divinely influenced intelligences to come inside of you, nourishment to come inside of you, and other things not to come inside of you. Because again, you exist in a sea of waveforms. Look, there's all this crazy random waveforms, all this stuff all around you. So it is a shield to keep out the things that are chaotic, unwanted, fragmentary, not divinely organized and intelligent, and to allow in through these areas the things that actually are intelligent, appropriate, righteous, bring you on the path that is the path of eternal life, that keep you on the central core timeline and bring you towards that realization of ascended mastery, that you are remembering and reconnecting with your own divinity or your own identity as God. So that's the first part. Hold on a second. I'm going to go to the animation because I think that will help a lot. So this is an animation that I did in conjunction with a lovely student of this class named David Lear. And I don't know if he's here this semester or if he catches up with anything, but sending out so much good wishes to him, so much good positive energy to him. So what I did with him was a collaboration. I didn't make this animation, but I drew pictures, helped to work out the storyboard, and gave a lot of aesthetic advice, which he passed on to the animator about how we wanted this to be done, how we wanted this to look. So I have this uploaded onto my YouTube channel, and I've also shared from his YouTube channel, just because, again, it's good to have multiple copies on YouTube in terms of being able to be found and not to be erased or hidden, and that there are different voiceovers, but it contains pretty much the same information. So you can find it by looking up Aurora uses of the Merkaba. And as I said, I've also shared the video link as part of the Patreon notes and as part of the, it's in a supplemental homework playlist of this class. So I'm going to move forward a little bit. Hold on. Let me just move forward using this. Okay, anthropomorphic form. That's the first thing, you sitting. This is the second thing, envisioning the upward facing pyramid around you. In this animation, it shows that we're beginning spinning that first, but I would say in your practice, wait and don't get it spinning first. Now what we have is the downward facing pyramid. So upward facing pyramid, envision the downward facing pyramid, and you can see that we've got the heart center. There we go, that's a perfect place to stop. The heart center is sticking out and aligns roughly with the center of the chest. Got the face plate in front of the face, and you can see at the base of the spine, that's where you have the other vertex sticking out. So for your first practice of energetic protection, just get that spinning, being able to envision that, and then envision both of these spinning. They are called counter-rotating fields. Counter-rotating fields. They spin in opposing, perfectly balanced, beautiful directions, all right? So that's the first part in using this. The second part in how to use this Merkaba as a tool in your life is about direct reality manifestation, manifestation of desires or to program events in the time field. Again, we are doing this based on the foundation of unconditional love, a foundation of cosmic law, a foundation of spiritual maturity and advancement, radical self-responsibility and self-accountability, ego cultivation, and getting to the point of being a mature citizen who takes responsibility for the things that we emanate. You got it? All of this is about leveling up, and that is as you can tell, I'm a responsible teacher. I'm teaching from that level to that level of participant. Thank you for receiving me on that level. It is a tool for manifestation and desires and to program events in the time field. And this means that you are an individuated ego state on the journey towards remembering your true nature as God, and also working in conjunction with that larger cosmic presence, larger scale, longer waveform, meaning like you might have lived 50 or 60 years. However, there are beings that you are integrating with who are like stars that might have lived for whatever, 13 billion years. There are some stars that have lived for that long, or millions of years, or a galaxy, a presence on that level that has been in existence for an almost uncountable number of times, or on the quantum or atomic level, in existence that is so tiny or microcosmic that we would measure its existence by a different scale of time altogether. I know I'm getting very, very abstract, but let's say you as your present ego, structure, individuality, body presence, integrating with beings that are living on vastly different time scales, and the level of personal responsibility it takes to be a musician of you as selfhood, integrating your desires with those other desires. Very, very big. Like I use always as my little example, like I want a bowl of ice cream. That is totally fine. Your desire for your bowl of ice cream is appropriate and righteous for whom you are in this time, place, in this body, and in your present life context. And also know that you make your desires within the larger context of events and fabric of reality of time, that you are having to, I'll go back to my face, respect on an ego level. I'm so happy people are tuning in. Stephanie, I saw you just came in. Welcome, welcome. You are having to mitigate or balance your desires in your individuated ego, which it is okay to have an individuated ego. Hi, Aaron. Good, so good to see you. Thank you for being here. With the larger self state that would be considered the holistic totality of all events, of all beings, of everythingness. So your bowl of ice cream is appropriate for you to desire, and also recognize that you are making your desires within a much larger symphony of life. And that is the real answer as to, well, Aurora, if you have a Merkaba, like why not just wave your magic wand and poof, giant piles of gold arrive in your backyard, or poof, whatever. I have, purple, I want to make something silly, like, purple unicorn horns sprout out of my head, or any fantastical or extremely exaggerated or extremely self-serving wish or desire. Why not just wish for whatever you want? You've got a Merkaba, just do it. And the answer is because this is a tool for being used at high levels of personal responsibility within the larger time field, knowing that I serve myself better when I am not hugely ego focused, and when I accommodate all of the other life forms and levels of being, which are actually me and which also need to be respected and supported within the larger time structure. And if I just wished for a giant pile of gold, weird unicorn horns, or any other ridiculous or very self-focused thing, I would have to say that might be causing an imbalance, or might be inappropriate in some way, might be negatively impacting others. All of this needs to be considered. So all of these wishes and desires and manifestation techniques should come with that maturity level in the context of unconditional love, unity consciousness, moving towards the recognition of identity state as God, and recognizing that all of these other things, from an atom or a microbe to the scale of a galaxy, are also individuated, moving towards recognition of the unity consciousness and their own divine presence as God, and that everybody's got to be a good musician in the band, so that everybody gets a chance to play and everybody is respecting the self-expression of others. When you do that, you have beautiful harmony and harmonic divine perfection. And that when I talk about those errant signals, fragmented self-states, negative beings, even if they're specifically like pew, pew, like I'm going to shoot you with negative energy, even those things, like you need to protect yourself from them. They're not good players in the band. They're in existence and we're doing something about it, but you got to have something to do, so that they might be imbalancing the world. They might be self-serving. They might be this, they might be that. This is the very impeccable, meaning there's no critique. You're not doing anything wrong. Impeccable literally means like without sin, but I don't talk about sin. I'm not on that level, but I like that word in the sense of being very perfect in one's alignment, perfectly aligned, and without criticism. Like there's no criticism of anything that I'm doing, and the intention, maybe I should say, with purity, with very pure and profound intentions. And also everything is a learning journey as well. And I can tell some very, very funny stories about when I first started using my Merkaba, and I was just like a beginning driver. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to manifest this. And I did manifest this, but it came in a different direction and a different shape and package than I had actually expected it to, was slightly dangerous to me, not positive in my life. And then I was very, very happy to have the situation be resolved without anything bad happening. And then I was like, wow, I really learned a lot about what it is like when you try to manifest something, and I'll manifest things from a much more balanced viewpoint going forward in the future. I don't have to repeat that story, but I think you can tell from my, I'm holding back my laughter of the type of things that it might have been. So yeah, very, you learn a lot when you are a beginner driver. You're like, yep, don't crash into that. Don't crash into that. So yes. And yes, I felt very happy and grateful to have that learning experience and then be able to be like, I will drive more carefully in the future. And that is also why I share these teachings so intentfully with you, because this is a level of responsibility. Just like in our world, getting the keys to the car is a rite of passage, and it happens during the level of maturity from adolescence into adulthood, and it includes greater levels of freedom, like you can now drive yourself places, you can go places, you can go to the store or visit friends on your own, and also the recognition that your car can cause a car accident if you're not driving it carefully, injure yourself, injure others, or cause a great deal of damage. We don't want that to happen. So Merkaba is the same thing. It just, and I'll say, I'm so like being such a responsible driving teacher, using it as an immune system shield, like that's not something that you have to worry about. Like, am I going to crash? Am I going to do something wrong? Like, no, you're not going to crash or do something wrong. Just shielding yourself, perfectly acceptable. And drinking some water here. In moving into levels of manifestation, necessary to level up in terms of personal self-maturity. And align with yourself as the mature cosmic or galactic scale presence that takes full responsibility for the things which emanate, and also the possible imbalances or repercussions that might arise from those emanations. So now in what I'm teaching you, this is the next level for responsible drivers on their spiritual journey of cultivation. The upward facing pyramid in terms of reality requests or co-creation or wish making or manifestation is about specific desires. Again, the upward facing pyramid is like a pointer. I point at you, I point at you, I point at this thing. I'm up above my head, I'm pointing at things and being specific. So I use as my example, manifesting a dessert treat for yourself. When you're like, okay, in my upward facing pyramid, I'm going to envision this around my body. I'm sitting in my meditation and I'm going to envision the specific type of ice cream that I want. I want a specific flavor. Do you guys, I don't know, do you have a specific flavor? Because like I don't really even eat ice cream anymore, but imagine your specific flavor, like maybe Ben and Jerry's Cherry Garcia, and it has to be on a Tuesday, and it has to be in a specific porcelain blue dish, and I have to eat it with a specific spoon that has, whatever, a picture of a squirrel engraved on the handle, and 3 o'clock. That's like some specific envisionment of what you want, all right? And in that same wish making or desire manifesting session, you have the receptive downward facing pyramid that you can see when it is downward like this. It acts like a glass or a chalice. My glass has this empty space inside of it. It is receptive, so I can put the water inside of it. The receptive portion of self is absolutely as important as the active, present, focused portion of self. And it is about being open to receiving. It's like if you go into a restaurant and you say, I want this, 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 and this, but then there's also the aspect of self that says, or chef's choice. Because chef's choice can sometimes be so much better than all the things that you think you want for yourself, because there are things that you are ignorant of, options that exist beyond your imagination, things that might actually be better for you in the sense of your larger, broader context of your life, as opposed to the desires that you have developed based upon your previous experience up to this moment. It's appropriate to have your experiences, and it's appropriate to base your desires based on those experiences, but in each context. You don't want to get cheated, or not cheated is not the word, but to miss out on an opportunity that you might not know about, or that there might be something actually better than you can imagine for yourself. That's where the receptivity comes in. So in the receptive aspect of self, you can say chef's choice or dealer's choice or pick me a winner. And you can also do something like, say like, okay, what I really want in this manifestation is a treat. Like that's what ice cream is really about. And it's usually something that like makes you feel good inside, that makes you feel happy, that feels like special or unique. Sometimes it is like a comfort. Ice cream like makes you feel better. I mean, you have a breakup, but also sometimes ice cream is like the most special thing that you get when you go out, you know, when you're like a little kid and you're like, oh, like you get to have an ice cream. Like it's a special, so it's something that is of a special significant gift. And also in terms of receiving your ice cream, it can be something that is cold, something that, you know, has that creamy feeling, something that, you know, is like a particular texture. Like ice cream is very different than a cookie. These are two different things. Like one is crumbly and dry. One is, you know, like cold and very kind of, you know, like liquidy in your mouth. Like these are very different things. So in the receptive period, you say like, yeah, and I want something that's kind of like cold and juicy and has this feeling to it. Okay, this is the basics of how you do this manifestation, and then manifestation practice. And then what you do is you quote unquote press run on your computer program. So having created your specific desires and your receptive desires, you then envision these static pyramids moving and spinning. And you know you get them up to optimum speed when you feel that line of light. Now I know I've got this little control bar with a play bar that's down at the bottom, but you can see that there's a line of light that connects the top vertex of the shape down to the bottom vertex of the shape and goes right through the spine or central column of the human anthropomorphic shaped experiencer there. And so you get up to speed and you know you're up to speed. Oh, I'm spinning at optimum speed because I've got that column of light that is connecting these layers together there. All right. So that is the second aspect of being able to use Merkaba. And you can tell like that takes a lot of practice. And I jokingly have referred to some of my learning experiences in air quotes of learning how to do that. And then the third thing is using the Merkaba for interdimensional travel. And I share this also as like learning about something before you actually do it. Please master the basic immune system and harmonious reality manifestation or reality programming of events into the time field before you begin hopping in your Merkaba vehicle as an actual interdimensional tool for traveling and actually going places. Because it's really important to know, like, there are bad neighborhoods. You don't want to go to a bad neighborhood. I would never be to a beginner driver like, here's the car, here's the keys. Like, don't worry. I'm not going to tell you about seatbelts, and I'm not going to tell you about having to have gas or oil changes or what to do if you get a flat tire. And I'm not going to give you a map, and I'm not going to tell you which neighborhoods to avoid. Like, of course, like I'm speaking in negatives. What would I do as a responsible teacher of how to drive and go places? I would say, okay, here's the keys to the car. But the first thing you have to know is you got to maintain your car. You got to make sure that it's able to go where you want it to go. So you got enough gas and your oil is changed and you're ready to go. And your car will get you there and get you back. Do you have enough gas in your car to get you there and get you back? I talked about that last week. The idea of having a Christ consciousness or insight to eye of time that runs on unconditional love. And you can have the most amazing Ferrari in the garage. However, if you do not have gas in the car, it's not going to go. There's nothing wrong with the car, but you have to have the gas, the energy, the unconditional love, the love tone in order to be able to go. And having access to that is also part of your integration with the cosmic presence. Like, is it time for you to have gas? If you don't have gas, maybe you don't have gas for a reason, but then also maybe it is your reason to begin to cultivate yourself to get the gas so that you can do the things that you want to do. Everything in balance, learning to go beyond the individuated ego state, mitigating ego desires with the desires of yourself to serve the totality. So in being able to make your Merkaba into a vehicle and travel places, you have to have gas, unconditional love. What makes these things spin? What gives you that energy? What gives you that power? It is unconditional love. It is necessary to cultivate that unconditional love in order to go places and travel there safely, and then have enough balance and stability, and then also be able to return or, land safe, you know what I mean, to be in a controlled flight and be on your journey well. Flight is maybe even better than saying driving, because let's say that you're learning how to do hang gliding or something like that. Like, you need to know how to get off the ground and you need to know how to land safely. Like, I would be a very poor instructor if I was just like, yeah, just jump off a cliff and hang on tight. And then if I never gave you, wait, Aurora, I'm driving over a cliff, how do I land? That would be very bad. Yes, so I have to make sure that I tell you all of these important things, and you get to learn in small controlled flights and not crash over the edge of a cliff. I don't know if there are any experienced hang gliders or paragliders in here, but I would love to hear of your experiences if you are, because I saw that in person recently and I was very impressed by it. So that's just a brief aside of why I'm using that. Okay. In using this for interdimensional travel, the first thing, like every other use of the Merkaba, is being seated in your meditation posture, creating the upward facing pyramid, creating the downward facing pyramid, and then being able to get them spinning in their counter rotating fields and up to speed. And then the third part of it, if I go to the animation, is, and I'll use lots of visual aids to show you this, as you begin to spin and get them up to speed, so these are now spinning energy fields, boom, the vertexes, these outer pointy areas, start to connect with one another in a new, I don't want to say grid, but in a new connectivity level of light that begins to change the structure from a star tetrahedron into an octahedron. So hold on 1 minute while I now get my visual aid. I told you I found everything. As I unpacked finally. Oh, don't want things to fall. Hold on a second. Work with me. Unpacked all of my stuff and found all of my crystals and everything that's important. This is tiny, so I'm going to hold it all the way up here. Wait, let me not frustrate you, because I have to kind of hold the thing up behind it. Okay, trying to do it. I have to hold it. There we go. Okay, that is going to be. So this is the shape of an octahedron. And if I hold it just right and the light goes through it just right, you can start to see how there is that star tetrahedron shape within there, within the reflection of light, within the facets. So right now you've got a pretty good hexagon shape inside of there. Let's draw this out. Let's draw it for you. Hope you got a good view of that. So, okay, basically what is an octahedron shape? It has a square base. Can you see that that's a square? And then it has these two pointy edges. So this is an octahedron shape over here. Let's get to how, I'll hold it up closer again so that you can see it, because I know everybody's squinting and wanting to see it. There we go. That's pretty good. There we go. Actually, that's a pretty good view of it. Oh, that's a very good view of it, like super, super extreme close up. And if I hold it just like that, boom, there, that's pretty good. If I get the lighting just right, then you can see the star tetrahedron shape in there. This shape is achieved by rearranging the energy modules that you have available to you in this level, not adding or taking away or cutting or anything like that. Similar to the flying rainbow lasagna, what you are doing is transforming what you have, not adding or taking away. So here are the two pyramids, or tetrahedra. When I unfold them, I have 4 sides and I have 4 sides. What I'm going to do is refold them so that I will one at a time. I had this bottom part here. The bottom part is going to come out and it's actually going to become this part up here, so that now we have a different type of pyramid. This type of pyramid has a square base. This type of pyramid is similar to the Great Pyramid at Giza, the one that is in Egypt, and the one that we associate with mostly the name of the word pyramid, the Great Pyramid. And this type of pyramid has a new angle. I did not speak enough about equilateral triangles and tetrahedra. They only have 60-degree angles in them. Every single one of these angles in the triangle is 60 degrees, 60, 60, 60, making 180. Every face adds up to 180. And then all of the points, when they fold together, 60 degrees. But when you rearrange the faces of that tetrahedral shaped pyramid into this, you still have the faces that contain 60, 60, 60 degrees, but this shape up here becomes 90 degrees. This angle, here's my finger like this angle like this, and like this, that points up here, becomes 90 degrees. And the square base, you guys are smart, you know that squares have at the corner 90-degree angles. You get an additional degree of freedom, you get a new angle. Big things happen when you get to add a new angle in the world of math and polygons. So you rearrange the pyramid to have a square-shaped bottom like that one. And if I can, it's hard to do all this. I'm doing lots of cosmic rearranging while holding onto all these things at once. Hold on. I have the one that is receptive. Now that one really looks like, like a chalice or something like that, because it's got a, a receptive place where you can pour stuff into. So I have the one that points upward, the one that points downward, and they fit together on top of each other perfectly like that. This is the shape called an octahedron. Octahedron, octa is based in eights, right? And how many sides do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Octahedron. It is an 8-sided polygon. Oh, Lucy's trying to jump back in. I can't touch the controls right now. Just wait a minute. This is the shape of that crystal that I was just holding up for you. And this is the shape that you transform into when you get up to speed to be able to do this interdimensional traveling maneuver by using your Merkaba. So I'm giving you the full recipe, but don't just jump in your car yet. Practice and learn. How do we do this changing and envisionment? It is largely a shift in perception. Let me grab a quick thing from over here. Wait, hold on a second. I'm going to squint and scroll over here on my computer. I should have had this prepared already, but I had a lot going on this morning. Hold on. Let me see if I can find it, because it's in my class notes from over here. I'm going to send it over here. Guys, this is all very exciting. Beep, 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 beep. I'm sending things across the ether. I'm opening it up. Great. Okay, so now I'm going to do a share screen for that image. This thing right here. This is a famous optical illusion. Depending upon the way that you use your system of visual perception and interpretation, you could, on the one hand, look at it and interpret it as a young woman who is kind of turning to the side, where you see the side of her jaw and her eyelashes in mostly profile with a feather sticking up out of the top of her hat. Or on the other side, you could see it as an old woman where she has kind of like a crooked nose, a long pointy chin, and she's wearing kind of like a babushka over her head, right? And so see it both ways. Young woman with the feather, old woman with babushka. This way, this way, this way, this way. All right, I know I'm a little bit silly, but I bring up this. It's a well-known optical illusion because the switch from being in a star tetrahedron shape to an octahedral shape is entirely based upon the same level of inner perception. Once again, you're taking that picture is one picture with pixels or charcoal, whatever it's made out of. You're not adding or taking away from it. It's you. It's your system of perception that looks at that and says, well, now I'm going to make it look like this, but now I'm going to make it look like this. Same thing happens when you are working on this level of perception of energy and utilizing the energy field that is the star tetrahedron. Wait, now I'll put this down below. Wait. Now I'll get the annotation. Okay, good. You are beginning with this, where I'm waving my cursor. That's the star tetrahedron. And people often also see this as a line drawing that is simplified that just looks like two interpenetrating triangles. And I'll also say that this is not necessarily in any way affiliated only with Jewish people, the Judaic culture, or the nation of Israel. That is just very big to know and understand. Although right now in our present socio-political power structure and Judeo-Christian religious world, this is understood as both a religious symbol and a cultural nation-state symbol. However, please remove yourself or disentangle yourself from those associations or affiliations, because the use of this is non-denominational. The use of this is for any human being, any person, any affiliation, any person who worships or does not worship in a community. It is just like I was speaking about Christ consciousness in last week's presentation as being galactic Christ that is inclusive and non-denominational and for all races and subgenres of identities of humans. So too is the utilization of this force field. And this force field, when we're beginning and we have the star tetrahedron shape, when you start to get up to speed and you start to turn it into the octahedron, you're going to connect these two sides. And then those two sides are going to connect upward to the top vortex here. Doing a pretty good job of drawing with this pen. And I'm going to emphasize these that stay the same. Oh, now I went off the edge. So you guys know, I have no idea how hard it is to draw with these pens. And then down to this part here. And then I'll emphasize the bottom. So that is the first aspect of rearrangement. Let's count like the old Sesame Street thing. 1, 2, 3, let's count. Here's one side, two sides, three sides, and the fourth side is at the back, 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are the same 1, 2, 3, 4s that we had arranged before as 1, 2, opposite side 3, bottom side 4. Got it? Same number of sides, rearranged differently. Now I'm just going to use a different color so that it doesn't get too confusing to your eyes. But then in creating the bottom part of the octahedron, I'm going to connect this guy to here. I'm going to connect this guy to here. And then let's count it out for you. So here is the one side here, number 1. Here's number 2. Here's number 3. And here's number 4 pointing out the back. So you still have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. You still have the same number of equilateral triangles that act as the facets of this gem or crystalline structure, and you have arranged them differently. So let's go back to that beautiful animation, and I'm just going to run it through for you. All right, because I know I was doing a lot with like stop, reverse, go forward, go backward. Let's just play it. Okay. So let's talk about what are the things that you can put a Merkaba around in terms of energy usage, energy protection. Hold on, I want to get to my notes and read through. Sorry, thank you for bearing with me. Just scrolling to where I have my notes. Hold on one moment. No, I'm not finding it yet. Da! You can envision a shield of protection around a person, object, place, or idea. Big. person, object, place, or idea. So initially, I have shown this to you as like you're a person. You're sitting inside of your energy field shield and you are protecting yourself. You can protect an object. First of all, you can protect yourself through your digital presence because you have a physicality presence, right? But then also like, look, I'm in a video. People are looking at my face of my physicality presence in my video. In a sense, it gives a portal or a quantum entanglement, attention, focus to be able to reach my physical body. I put Merkabahs of protection around my physical body, and I put them around my face in all of my videos. You got it? I put a Merkabah of protection around this experience in terms of being able to share this information with all of you, because what I want to have are the loving possibilities of the best timelines enter into this presence space, and none of the fragmentary, undesired, or unwanted misperceptions, misconceptions, things that would send people spinning off, make you drive over a cliff or make you drive to a bad neighborhood. You got it? A Merkabah of protection around an experience. You can put it around an object. Let's find a little like something like, okay, like here's, this actually would be a good, so here's my Mobius strip that I thought I had lost. Let's say, okay, I put a Merkabah of protection around my Mobius strip, and then it means that this is protected from harm, loss, water damage, mold, other things like that. Like you can put a protection around an object that you care for. But remember that all of this is done in partnership with the larger presence of the time animal that we live within, or the divine presence that we live within. So that's like saying, if it is for the best of all, may this object be protected from loss, from harm, from fire damage, from mold, mildew, all of these other things. So that you can put a protection around someone who you love and care about. She's right over there. I can put a protected energy field around my little dog. She's incredibly important to me and protect, a part of my heart. And yes, put a Merkabah protection around her. And what that means is, for the integration into the time field for the best events of all, may she be happy and healthy and protected from fleas and, protected from whatever negative interactions in any way, or, eating weird things off the ground that she tends to do. Merkabahs of protection around my dog, because I know that we all have people in our lives, hopefully, whom we care about and wish to protect. This is a very real, beautiful thing that we can do for one another. And it is good to ask for consent. And also you can do this as a spiritually mature person, saying, if it is granted, if it is appropriate in the cosmos, if this person being is receptive to this energy, then I would or will place this protective energy field around them. And then of course, if they're not receptive to it, because things should be done in consent, the energy field could simply go elsewhere or, dissolve back into the totality being. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, all of this is about being super intentional with the way that you send out what you consider to be your beautiful, lovely cookies or pastries or baked goods or lasagnas of the world. Like, you want to be using your mind and your imagination, sculptural presence, to be able to do really good things for other people and other things. It is best to do it in consent. There are always questions about this. So putting little asterisks and parentheses in your Merkabah is very appropriate. Sending this Merkabah protection if the person hasn't overtly signaled their consent to you. Mostly what I do now is when I work with people like in a session, or if they're in distress, or if I'm talking with them, I'm like, how do you feel about if I send this over to you, or if I help you to envision this, or if I envision this along with me? And if the answer is yes, then we do it. So that is something you can do. You can place a Merkabah protection around this whole planet. Aurora, does that mean that I have to get consent, like a signed NDA agreement from every single organism on this planet? No, what it means is that you have to have a really true feeling of love in your heart for the entire planetary structure and all of the life that lives here, and recognizing that you are so intimately intertwined with it and her and beingness here, that you wish to protect the place upon which you live and all of the other organisms here, because you depend upon them and they depend upon you. It is appropriate to put a Merkabah around the entire planet. And I'm not exactly sure who it was because I think on Discord they're Jan Peter, but I'm not sure what their physicality name is. But I know someone was telling me sometime about wanting to put a Merkaba, tiny one, around every single photon of light that is flying off of the sun. It's like wanting to put a protective energy field around every single possibility and probability that's coming off of the sunlight. That's an enormous amount of RAM or processing power to do that. I love it. I love the desire and the intention because it basically comes from the heart of saying, paraphrasing here, I identify with all light everywhere, all light beings everywhere. I want to protect, love, and nourish all light, that it will go to its true destination. You got it? So here's an example. Like if I know someone who's going to go on a road journey and I say, like, oh, I want to send them some protection. Just like on a GPS, you can imagine their route going from point A to point B. You can imagine it as a route of golden light, going down the highway, and you can place a Merkaba field around this golden light, and you can put specifics into it, like that they will have plenty of, gas money, that they'll see a beautiful sunset, and that they'll reach their destination safely. And then you can also put the dealer's choice, chef's special into there of anything else that they might need to help them or protect them on their journey, and then to send them there. It is very, very similar to the idea of prayers of protection, or prayers of positivity going to people. You can send out Merkabas of protection for people in their health. You can do all these things. The only specificity of using the Merkaba is that it is one modality, one specific imagination system of doing this, that it is absolutely appropriate to use this. And also there are many others, like I don't mean to negate other forms of prayerfulness or positive reality, intention, projection upon others. Let's talk about putting a Merkaba around a place. Well, I talk about like a place like planet Earth. You can put a Merkaba around your house or your bedroom. Like, let's say if I want to put a Merkaba around my apartment, and I say, I'm placing this positive energy shield here. And that means that love and vibrations and experiences that are of that nature and higher may enter or be present or be experienced here. But the chaotic or negative or lower level, lower not meaning worse, but lower vibration things cannot enter here or be present here or be experienced here. And that can be with events, it can be with people, like it can be with like, oh, like that person didn't come over because that would have been maybe a bad time, or maybe they were in a bad state, or maybe they were not a good person, they didn't come over. Or let's say this, that means I put a Merkaba around my house, and I'm having a party. It means that the best things happen at the party. So no one's gonna spill their red wine on a white dress. No one's gonna spill their red wine on a white dress. That's like, oh, the worst thing that could possibly happen at a party. Or whatever bad things that can happen at a party. No one decides to get drunk and get a switchblade and go wild, go crazy. I never have those types of parties, but you understand what I'm talking about. I'm being lighthearted. But those possibilities do exist in the world. So when you put a Merkaba of protection around a social gathering, you do it with your intention that I use the words highest and best, the most evolved, the most in alignment with divine guidance, the possibilities that are most for the lesson learning of mutual reciprocity, for being part of the journey to remembering that you're God and that you're divine. Those are the experiences that happen. Everything that is love and above happens at that experience. Why is this necessary? Because we live in a world that is teeming with microbes, that you actually have to protect yourself from errant energies or overtly negative energies. So this is big, because I think that it's important to articulate that just because you put up an energy field does not mean that you're like, come at me, I'm gonna myrtleize you. It's not necessarily an aggressive stance, and it is not necessarily saying I somehow wish to align. I'm saying no to this and paraphrasing and using facetiousness in my voice. It does not mean that one is aligning with necessarily or projecting a reality expectation of adversaries that I must protect myself from. I'm projecting a world that says there's, mean people everywhere and I have to put up a shield to protect myself from it. I think that that is also a huge misnomer. It does not mean you want to live in a world where you have to shield yourself. It means that it is in recognition of the present state of the level of consciousness that you exist within, that you need to shield or protect yourself from these errant thought waves, uncontrolled negative thought beings or intentionally harmful thought beings, that we must recognize that those beings do exist at this level. Although I've been cosmically naive and not understanding, comprehending completely the world that I was jumping into as a walk-in, I have learned over 20 years the different types of beings that are here, and it was a steep learning curve. And yes, you need to protect yourself from them. Very, very different than living in the world of Christ. Very, very different from the world of my Aurora Collective and that world of purely cultivated, virtuous virtuosos, where everybody has already matriculated to the University of the Universe, and no one is going to bash the other players in the symphony with their violins. Like, it's not like that. So that is a different level of being at that level. And that's also like saying within your own body, you have cell to cell communication. Your cells don't have to be like, I have to protect myself from you. You're another cell from my own body. Like, when you get to a certain level, your body's like, oh, I am made of trillions of cells and you're one of me and I'm one of you. And we're working together within this larger body structure. So then you would be considered to be within the same immune system, on the same team, working for the same levels of development. And it would not be necessary, like in your body, you don't have an immune system against your own cells. That would be considered an autoimmune disease when the body attacks itself. You got it? So different levels, different approaches are appropriate. You can tell I'm focusing so much to say this, at different levels of development. But let's say you're in a world, and let's say you're in a world where we still have these individuated microbes. My silly voice, yo, I'm looking out for number one, and I don't care about you, and I'm gonna care about you, I'm gonna eat you, I'm gonna kill you, I'm gonna rape you. And that is someplace where it's like, clearly that being does not yet have the message that it is part of a larger totality structure. If it is acting in that way, got to protect yourself from that microbe. So that is the big challenge of recognizing that I'm giving you teachings that apply to a certain level of being. When you level up, the approach changes. When you level up, the approach changes. When you level up to this level, the approach changes. And you will know, of course, when you are navigating or existing in these different, much more cultivated levels of reality, when you're like, oh, I don't have to put up my Merkaba shields here. Like, we're all part of unity consciousness. And then I can use my energy differently. Appropriate, appropriate, appropriate. In this level that we are at here, yes, I'm teaching you about how to use an energy shield field. Okay, so now let me go through my notes to read everything and make sure that I got everything important. And then also, for anyone that wants to ask specific questions, I finally have learned how to put a manageable amount of information within 2 hours. I would love to hear from you. And before I get going on the rest of my notes, I want to say this. So when I show you this spinning technique, you can see like one is spinning around like this, one is spinning around like this. And mostly it is seen as if they are spinning at, these two levels straight like this. But sometimes I get jazzy with it and I want to make figure eights. And that's another beautiful artistic thing that I'm always leveling up. And I was recently shown that, of being able to make these beautiful figure eights, which would be more like, let's see if I can make these little guys do it. And I know you're watching me fiddle with stuff. Just fiddling with models. Hold on a second. Get them together. One is spinning like this, one is spinning like this. But being able to make them move more like this as they are spinning, that has been a new level of expression for me. So the one that points outward like this, I'm doing like, a beautiful figure eight. And the one that's pointing around from the back, a beautiful figure eight. So I've been doing a lot with making these figure eights also. And that is just a new level of personal expression, artistic expression, alignment with virtuosity. So that can also be done too. And when I've been doing that, it feels very graceful and buoyant to me, almost in the way that like dolphins, jump up and down in these beautiful sea waves. So that's what I would say. Like, there are ways of doing it that are in these beautiful, I feel like I'm being conducted actually when I do those waves. Like the conductor is telling me, now I'll go like this, and now I'll go like this, and now I'll go like this, and go like this. Okay. I think I got through all of these. It's often depicted as a simplified 2D form, but it is actually comprised of the two interpenetrating tetrahedrons. This is a big one. Don't be concerned if you don't know all the dance steps. So some people have been in my class for many semesters, and I love the repeat students and their commitment to learning all of this. Some people are like, I can get to this level of envisionment, but not necessarily maintain all of it. Like, it's like when you're learning how to tie your shoes, it takes a lot of focus, a lot of concentration. Don't be too focused on like, did I make this movement exactly perfect? Did I make this movement exactly perfect? What you're really doing is learning a specific dance in dancing in the cosmic infrastructure. What a good word. And that it is acceptable in your beginner state to just bop along with the music, catch the overall dance movements that you can make, and dance along as best you can. One example is here in my apartment building in the courtyard, they had a salsa club meeting, and I've never danced this music before, but there are many people who were here from South and Central and Latin America, and they all knew these songs and knew these dances, and I was kind of like dancing on the periphery. Like they were all doing wonderful things, moving together with themselves on the dance floor, and I was kind of standing on the periphery being like, okay, like let's get the beat. Like I see kind of how they're moving their feet. I see I'm moving it a little bit in the same way. I'm moving my spine and my body in kind of the same way. And I didn't pretend that I knew all of the dance. I didn't like jump into the middle of what they were doing. Totally right and appropriate as you're beginning to learn a dance, kind of like the Merkaba, to begin and be like, okay, I'm a beginner. Like I'm going to kind of get the feel for it. And if what you can do is get the motion, get the feel, get the basics of it, then you begin to move in those patterns that are basic. And here's the kicker. As you move in those patterns that are basic, you develop greater levels of perception and greater levels of focus and concentration to be able to learn the more advanced dance movements. So I shared with you, like I have been a big, whatever, like maybe 2008 or so, I would say like, yeah, total beginner Merkaba user in terms of, doing it here in this time, place, and figuring out these patterns and figuring out manifestation and figuring out the do's and don'ts of driving to different manifestation. Okay, what happens when you manifest this, and what happens when you intend for this? I wouldn't even say like interdimensional travel at that point. I would just say like, okay, like what happens when you do these things? Because really, when you are manifesting experiences, you are essentially doing a quantum jump from one timeline to another timeline. But then the reality jumping, from like going from a star tetrahedron to an octahedron, that is a different level of self-transportation. But all of this you see kind of one step leads to the next, leads to the next, leads to the next. What I'm trying to say is in my own expression and perception, I began with a less clear perception, and I could kind of tell what was going on, and I was doing my thing at a certain level. And then the more that I did my thing at that level, the more that I got activated up here, and I could see more clearly, perceive more directly, get more direct guidance and teaching from the master teacher, and be able to know and understand what I should do. And then I leveled up, and then I did it like this, and then I practiced more, and then I leveled up and I did it like this, and I practiced more. And so now for me, like shields up is just a very normal thing for me. Shields up, and that is just what I do, like as a basic response when I start to feel some of these things coming at me. Wait, but when you put it up, doesn't it stay up forever? No, these are living energy fields, and you have to maintain them. Just like when you tie your shoes, does it stay tied forever? No, sometimes it comes loose because you're walking around or running a marathon or doing whatever. Like you have to maintain these things. They're living energy fields, and you maintain them with your thought structure and with your intention. So yes, you maintain them, you put them up again, or like anything, like you paint your house, then it's done. No, you paint it again next year. Like you clean your house, you do your thing. Like this is part of what this is. So yeah, as I've been doing it, I've been able to do it better. So I'm now, when I do the shields up, that is a basic part that has been, I wouldn't say basic, that is a foundational aspect to my nature, that is part of my behavior and is even beyond a conscious maneuver. That is something that I do that would be considered supra or subconscious or unconscious. It has been internalized is what I'm trying to say. It's internalized, boom, it's part of who I am and what I do. And then the other reality manifestation things, those are much more, of course I still focus on doing them. And also like they come with more ease. And also, I don't do them in a capricious manner like I once did them. Like I once was like, oh yeah, well, I'm going to stand in my Merkaba, I'm going to do this. And then it's like, oh, I had to learn that that is not what you should do with your Merkaba. So again, I'm sharing with irony and laughing gently at myself so that you guys hopefully will not do exactly the same thing. I don't have to tell you the exact story, it's in other semesters. But yeah, I learned that you should not do certain things in certain ways. And it's much better to be a respectful partner, recognizing that what you are doing is an empowerment, and to be when I say respectful, like to recognize that what you're doing should not be done only out of ego, self-servingness, or even for me, it was like out of a sense of frustration, like I'm going to do something about it. And then boom. But just it didn't work out exactly in the way that I thought it did. But what ended up happening, because it's Amerikaba, is the best thing happened. I learned from it. I internalized that lesson. And then I learned how to use it more effectively in the future. And I have not had those types of misadventures, let's say, moving forward, that I have had instead positive intent, positive manifestations and positive intentions. And I also have found the same thing in using the Merkaba if I send it out to another person, especially in consent, for them to be protected or guided onto the best timelines. I'm finding that the best really does happen. And so yeah, having a positive influence on other people's journeys without blowback, which what we would say negative repercussions coming back, is mostly my experience now. Aaron, thank you so much for being here. And Aaron's comment says, thank you for distilling this information, Aurora. It was very timely. What are some things that can keep the parts of our Merkaba from spinning in their proper proportions? Really, really good. So I would say that with everything, this is an emanation from one's imagination, reality projection apparatus. It's what I spoke about at length in class last week, the non-denominational or non-religious Christ consciousness, and that is our imagination ability, envisionment ability, paintbrush of the mind that we use to be able to create these structures around us. And that it is a sense of inner development and maturity of that muscle, of that capacity to be able to envision these energy fields. That is really what must be cultivated, to envision these energy fields accurately in proper proportion, and so that they function as they are meant to function. So this is part of the journey of self-cultivation to getting to the level of being in Christ, being in the level of Christ. And when I say that, I'm recognizing, I paused a little bit because I'm like, oh, that might be something that is daunting to the ego structure, because there is so much wrapped up in, am I allowed to do this? Am I good enough to do this? Does this mean I'm going to be sacrificed on a cross? Does this mean that I have to do this? Does this mean I have to walk in poverty? There are so many cultural precepts that are painted upon the conception of what it is to be at this level. And I spoke last week also about being guided by God. This is your library card of the cosmos, the capacity to learn and perceive new information. One of the things that one is learning and perceiving with this inner eye aperture is how to create this protective Merkaba energy field, energy shield vehicle for cosmic travel. And then it is really the master teacher and God the guide that are helping us and teaching us in order to use these things well on our journey. And that this is part of the experience of self-development, self-exploration, and self-unfoldment that is inherent with having an energy field. It's just like saying, you know, I have two eyes or I have a mouth and I'm able to use my senses. I use my physical body senses and I'm using it to experience and explore the world. Totally appropriate, totally good. You have an energy field. You have this chakra system. You have this energy force field of light, which is basically your light body around you. And the journey towards ascension is the journey of becoming aware of that energy field, cultivating that energy field so that you are a conscious inhabitor of it. I won't say user of it, a conscious inhabitant of the energy field, identifying with all light, taking responsibility for the light that you ingest, that you emanate, and inter partnership with light on its journey. Like light is coming into me, light is flowing out of me. I'm in partnership with light. I'm made of light. That's why I loved that participant who was like, I'm going to put a Merkaba around every single light particle, because it's the sense of what, like when you love someone, you want to put a positive protective shielding around them. So all of this is about the ascension journey. All of this is about ascension in this context, when I use it, meaning leveling up, meaning becoming your greatness, meaning embodying the definition of self when you are a wise master. And the use of Merkaba as a shielding technique and as a reality manifestation, even we could call it reality request. Reality requesting might be a better term than manifestation, and also for interdimensional travel. When I talk about reality requesting and interdimensional travel, I must say this, that the use of the Merkaba is special. And I wouldn't necessarily be like, okay, like I'm going to hop into my Merkaba time machine. I'm just going to pop on down to the 7-Eleven for some milk or coffee. It is not really to be used in that way. So I'm thinking now of like, there's a Homer Simpson's TV show where they get from the garage sale of the crazy inventor one of these interdimensional portal machines, and Homer puts one section of the portal in front of himself on the couch and one section of it right in front of the refrigerator, so he can just stick his hand through the portal and go directly into the refrigerator to grab a beer. Like, this is not about just like a simple, silly, mundane task of like grabbing a beer. I'm going to create a whole interdimensional reality, transformational structure, bending and folding the fabric of time and space so that I can not have to walk 3 steps to go to the refrigerator to get a beer. So it is not that type of a thing. The use of the Merkaba is really not about mundane activities or like a mundane crowbar, like I will, a lever, like a simple tool, like whatever, wheel and axle. I will use it to get from point A to point B. It's not that type of reality restructuring device. And when you also really master the possibilities of interdimensional travel and voyaging in this way, your thoughts, desires, and requirements are also refined. So you might have already transcended or abrogated the necessity of receiving milk or coffee. So you wouldn't necessarily use your interdimensional voyaging vehicle to be able to pop down to the corner store to get those things. Or you might also recognize that this is not the best use for that tool. Like if you have a giant hope diamond, it might not be the best use of it to like, let's use it as a doorstop to just kind of hold open the front door so that everything is, the breeze can come through. Be like, no, I don't think we should do that. I think that we should respect it as a very, very incredibly precious gem that should be used in a different way. So that is where I'm really coming from on all of this. If I can go a little bit as an aside, I like to read science fiction. And there's one particular science fiction book I was reading that was about like something tachyon drive. And it was about like folding time and space and being able to fly in a clank type of metal spaceship. But it allowed the tachyon drive, allowed them to get from point A to point B super fast. And I was thinking about the irresponsibility of that, because the people that were using that technology in the book were rather warlike. And they were like, okay, great. Like I can get from point A to point B better, faster. I can shoot my enemy faster. It's like they have not gone through the levels of inner self-development, self-cultivation, perceptions of unity consciousness, and mitigation of self-desires versus community responsibility in order to be able to use that reality bending tool in a way that benefits all of reality. They were using it for regular mundane purposes that only benefited themselves and that were incredibly limited. It's like using the Hope Diamond for a doorstop. That is not what we should be using for that. That is the challenge of using some of these things in the sense of a technological externalized augmentation, as opposed to a naturally arising energy feature where one is able to perform these maneuvers based entirely upon one's innate love tone. Gas in your car is a natural substrate or emanation of time. You are made of time. You're working with pure time. You're working with divine intelligence or divine orderliness or divine music patterns. And then all of that means basically when you're like, okay, what's the map? If I'm going to get in my vehicle and I'm going to drive someplace in reality, one is like, I can shift reality structures. I can make things different. I can manifest or request a different recipe of reality. I can also jump in my vehicle and go to a different dimension or go to a different level of reality. Who or what guides me? Who or what motivates me? Am I motivated simply by little old me and looking out for number one? Or am I motivated by something much larger, higher, and greater? The crown that tells you you need to jump here, or you need to go here for this purpose, or you need to go here for this reason, or you need to go on this trajectory for this reason. So all of those things I present to you as a responsible teacher as you begin to explore the use of these tools, to know that you should be guided by your innate master teacher, your God positioning system, and a sense of obligation or responsibility to, or good listening and partnership with the great conductor. The great conductor is telling you to go like this and to go here and to do this and to listen to this and to act in this way. And that it usually is a transcendence of the mundane desires, motivations, or reality structures. That it's so like, if you say, oh, you've got a magic wand, we have a pile full of gold, like that's usually where people first go to, the idea of just physical wealth. And that's very much like, again, using the hope diamond as a doorstop, that you've got this capacity that is innate within you to do the most amazing reality transformations, reality restructuring. It is so much more than the idea of achieving access to physical resources, which is what most people in this time place associate with pure freedom. That mostly the desire to manifest a pile of gold, pardon me, originates from the limitations of the material-based reality structure that we're in, the economy that runs on gold or petrodollars or whatever it is. Where one says, well, if I have a pile full of gold, then I can go anywhere, afford anything, do anything, buy anything. My reality possibilities of what I can do expand and open up because I was so limited because I didn't have this pile of gold before. But you realize and recognize that there are many extremely wealthy people that have a pile of gold in this world, and they're not necessarily living in a state of total freedom, because what that means is that there are still limiting social structures, or they might have limiting body structures in terms of their health and vitality or levels of perception, or that even if you can, whatever, I'll buy the town. Interesting, Trish makes a comment, a pile of void, like that physical wealth is void, or not necessarily, I'm interpreting what she has said, not necessarily of value. Gold or dollars or petrodollars or whatever we're running on right now does give the user owner some level of freedom and latitude within the currently sustained economic system. It is true, like if you have a certain amount of money, you can eat at any restaurant, or you can fly to any place, or you can, live at any hotel. However, let's say you have a pile of gold, but can you live in the way that indigenous people lived pre-industrial? Like, can you fish out of a stream that is unpolluted? Can you live, just very in conjunction with the seasons and the land? Well, I mean, like, there's weather control and huge amounts of pollution, and all land is owned everywhere, and the waters are mostly poisoned or contaminated, making it very, very difficult to live in that way. So let's say an indigenous person was like, okay, instead I got a pile of gold. I want to go back to living as my ancestors did and honoring my culture in this way. Is it possible to do so? The answer is really no. Like, even if you had billions of dollars, like, it would still be incredibly difficult to create even a small enclave that mimicked that level of freedom. Do you get where I'm coming from on this? That mere physical resources do not necessarily translate into pure and total freedom, that the people, that the peasants, the lower class, usually envision in that way. They usually envision, yes, if only I had, if I was like the Monopoly man, if I had a monocle and a top hat, I was rich, and then I could do anything I wanted. No, mostly it means that you can be empowered within the world of commodities. However, there is a whole entire world of spiritual truth, spiritual freedom, health and vitality, and connection to nature and the divine that would not be available in those levels of physical manifestation. So, in utilizing the Merkaba to do something like, say, I want to recreate reality or restructure reality or manifest something in, like, I used a bowl of ice cream. it is possible to be very specific about that. And that's why I use that as my example. I don't mean to sound unduly critical, because you know that when I speak about all these things, I'm coming from really a point of teaching from unconditional love and unity consciousness. And also, I must say that I see some not very wisely developed people that are using different manifestation techniques, like the Abraham vortex or the, reality positivity, like various different schemes. And there was an old one like Think and Grow Rich. There are lots of them. There are lots of mind over matter. When I say schemes, they are systems of utilizing or manipulating reality that are not necessarily about respectful requesting. They're not necessarily about working in conjunction with larger superstructures. And they are in many ways about serving the needs or desires of the ego. Like, get into a positive mental state and use your energy and manifest, a Caribbean cruise, or a trip to wherever you want to go, Bali or something like that. Some kind of a luxury cruise is what I'm trying to say. And that is not necessarily the best wish, that is not necessarily in conjunction with the desires of the cosmos for you. Like, I would wish for people at that beginner level state, if they are experiencing or experimenting with their ability to manifest, to be like, instead of envisioning themselves on a luxury cruise, envision like clean water for a village in Africa. Like, if you're at the beginner level, instead of working from the self desires, I want to have something that is a luxury for me, be like, wow, I can control reality. Someone just gave me a magic wand. I want your motivation to be, instead of manifest a pile of gold, be like, can I manifest clean water for that village? Can I manifest a healing and a totality state for everyone in the world so that nobody ever gets cancer again? Can I manifest something where everybody has equal access to education, so that everybody has the same, ability to level up and improve their lives in a positive way? Can I manifest a world where, all genders or types of people are treated with respect and dignity, as opposed to massive differences in levels of opportunity and equality and sexual violence and all the different things that we have? Like, can I manifest those types of things? And I'm not just talking about like being, like a warrior for social justice, but I'm trying to talk about like ways that are positive improvements for the totality, for other people, for what we would consider to be humanism, humanitarianism, reduction of suffering, and improvement of the world, as opposed to mere self-serving luxury. That is big. Begin manifesting, hopefully, from those desires. And then I would also say, like, if you're like, wow, I really have a magic wand for manifesting, I want to fix things and help people. And then if I'm like, okay, like, I'm going to do clean water for these people over here, that's great. But then something happened. These people over here were like, we see you guys have clean water. We're coming in and stealing all of your clean water, right? Like, this is what happens. Like, oh, blowback. So now I have to make sure that everybody gets clean water over there. And now I have to make sure that if that's going to happen, then this happens over here. And then if that happens and there's a cascade over here, you begin to really have to reassess the impacts that your desires and your reality requests are having. And so also, please understand, like, as you are one individual participant giving your energy, you're not the only one. That's the whole thing that I spoke about in the beginning of this teaching, that the upward facing and downward facing pyramid are very much an exemplary of balance, balancing individual ego self-structures with community needs, living in community, what I want for me and also what I want for the totality. So actually, you don't have to be completely selfless and be like, I will give all of my money away so that there will be clean water in Africa, because then you will have nothing. You get it? So you are supposed to wish for health and abundance for yourself, and also health and abundance for others, and also recognize that you are one wish maker in a community of many, 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 many multiple organisms who are all making these wishes. And that is good and appropriate. So the entire burden does not rest upon your own shoulders, that you are creating an improved reality, as are many others who are also on this journey of self-mastery. And also, you're in conjunction with the larger meta consciousness, the time animal itself that you live within, as if you are one circulating red blood cell, and the larger meta consciousness known as Christ consciousness, that you are a facet of in the improvement scheme of the world to improve everything and all of this. And that's why you're literally incarnated here, that you are working in conjunction with a much larger symphony. So the entire burden does not rest upon you, the entire responsibility does not rest upon you, and also your personal efforts are part of a larger effort, and it ends up being an amazing group effort of improved reality structure to be able to do all of these things, to be able to truly steer the ship of consensual reality in an improved direction that is not merely one person at the top of the pyramid gets to have all the gold and their life is a life of luxury and nobody else has the clean water, and then that it is really a leveling up for everyone. That is what ascension really is. When I talk about this, the remembering of God's self and the re-identification with self as God, it is not just the journey of one person, it is the journey of the multifaceted group of people. Because remember what I showed you in that image from last year, last week rather. I'm squinting and scrolling. Can you guys tell I'm totally squinting and scrolling down here? Wait, where's that image? This image. Hold on, go to that. Yeah, no, I'm pressing the wrong button. Don't worry, guys, I'm safe. This image. These radial spokes, these people that all stick outward from the glowing sun source that is in the center of your own mind, to the top of your own spine, that is emanating light like the sun, that you are this one identity structure and you are also comprised of and interactive with and a facet of all of these other people's lives and beings who are also actually you. That is what you are in balance with. That is whom you are working with. That is whom you send energy out to and receive energy from. And it's not just you in this time place, it's you in many multiple time places. And everybody is on this journey of self-recognition or remembrance of, oh, I am God. And everything is having this remembrance moment. And that is what all of these learning lessons or exercises or practices are guiding up to. So all of this that I have taught about today is contained within or in the relative context of couched within the sense of that that level of responsibility and love and interconnected with in the experience of external manifested world and also internal experienced self-state. Yeah, opening the floor to any other questions or comments, because I actually got it done within 2 hours. I'm like happy. Questions, comments, or anything that anyone might wish to share? If not, then I will end the recording. Okay. I will say an enormous thank you and profound gratitude to everyone who's in the class, everyone who watches these videos, catches the archive, shares them with others, encourages others to learn on these levels, and also for the personal self-cultivation work that each one of you, each one of us are doing in terms of leveling up and creating better reality structure, moving in these positive directions, and being an active participant in the restructuring of time, healing, let's say self-healing and healing of the larger structures. Thank you very much.